Welcome in everybody to today's pick a card and welcome if you have not been to my channel before. We have three groups for you to choose from today. We have group one with the rough piece of rose quartz, so all three groups are rose quartz. We have group two with the Saheki Reiki symbol, and we have group three with like the polished tumble. So you can take a moment to choose whichever group you feel the most drawn to and use the timestamps in the description box to jump ahead to your reading when you're ready. And the topic of today's pick a card is going to be, where can you upgrade? So I'll give you a moment to sit with that. And we will get started with group one. Okay, welcoming group one. If you chose the rough piece of rose quartz, and this is going to be your reading today for where can you upgrade. And so I did have a couple of things written out, like messages before we started. So the first thing that I had is that you don't think highly enough of yourself. And you could be like in an energy of protecting yourself by keeping others out, whether that's because of like a fear of rejection or mistreatment. But it really comes from like an unwillingness to deal with confrontation in some sense, okay? And we also have the Queen of Swords and the Them Bones card. So we'll talk a little bit about the Queen of Swords first. So Queen of Swords can be like very discerning, can be quite wise or experienced, and it can be like a person who could spot agendas. There's like a seeing very clearly, so it's like a high level of discernment here. So your ability to like spot agendas or potentially read between the lines, it's like you would be the person who could really pick up on the things that people don't say, let alone what they do say in their actions and whatnot. It's like a strongly observant energy that I'm picking up for today. And so for some people, you could come off like quite detached or cold in nature in some ways, but I think it's just the fact that you have like your boundaries are quite established and there's no real getting past them. And it could be intimidating to some people in some sense because they know that in essence, like not only is it hard to get into your energy, but they know that if they did, they would also have to step it up a little bit, or they would have to be in a time in life where they have like a clean inner house where they know they're going to be held accountable for if anything did happen. Like there's, I guess, in some sense of the word, there would be like a consequence. It's like you're not going to let them walk all over you, okay? So it's quite a firm energy here and a strong protectiveness as well that we did talk about. With the rose quartz, it does speak to that like self-love, unconditional love, a softness, and a feminine quality in terms of like a compassion. And it's really about the self, so like a self-compassion. So it's like having compassion for ourselves when we make choices that for whatever reason we deem wasn't the best choice, even though chances are it was the best choice that we could have made at the time anyway, as it was. It's almost like having, it's big on forgiveness right now for this reading as well, where it's like forgiving ourselves. I have to say with this group, there could potentially be like a strong fundamental level of like self-judgment or something like that. So it's okay to embrace the parts of ourselves that we feel or know to be a bit rough around the edges, where maybe we're not for everyone, and that's okay. And it's still okay to like love ourselves through that, or through mistakes, or through the times where we do come off a little bit hard or harsh in some sense, but we know that we're actively trying and putting our best foot forward, or making an effort, and that we can only get better with it over time. There is a calling here to kind of like relax, or whatever. You could just be a person who also has very high standards, okay? So I do feel that. And if that is the case, there could be a call here to relax that energy a little bit. And for those of you who also felt drawn to group 3, this would be confirmation for you to check that out as well. Okay, so what else do we have? Them bones. All right, I'll see if I can get anything off this card before we read from the book on it. This is just such like, so this is the Hoodoo Tarot, and the author, I think it's Tayana Lee McQuillar, just has put so much, like you can tell, she's put so much work into the meanings of all the cards and the background and history that's gone into it. And I feel like you wouldn't get the full grasp of the card, just based off me reading it intuitively alone. There's always something like quite profound that I can take from the messages from this book. So I'll see what I get, and then we'll move forward. I just got like the universe is watching. So it's kind of like a shock of things that could come to be true, come out in a message, or just that knowing that the universe is watching in some way. All right, anyway, so I will read from the book. Let's see what we get. By the way, I'm hoping everybody is doing well today. It's just we have our bill. This is going to take me a while to find, isn't it? Have I missed something I was supposed to talk about? No. There could be something here also about giving yourself permission to take things slowly. Oh, cool. Okay, so it turns out that this card is actually the card for judgment in the major arcana out of this tarot deck, which is amazing because we did talk about that judgment as well. So that's really cool. So we have, do not judge by appearances, but judge with the right judgment. And I feel like before we even go any further, because it looks like they're doing divination through using the bones, right? And, topics like tarot, or, giving divine messages in whatever form that looks like, it can often be an area where it is like very nuanced. There can be a lot of things that come to light that are not always already known, or haven't necessarily always happened yet. There can be a lot of things where it's like we touch on topics of how energy is fluid and timelines can change. And so there is a lot of room for judgment in that like topic of discussion, I guess you could say. And there could even be things that could touch on, say, for example, if you are a person who, I guess, dabbles in this sort of thing, not saying everybody is, but there can be a lot of room for like judgment of self in how you navigate that whole process, when it's really meant to be something that we are able to place the judgment aside. We do our best to place our ego aside and just let the messages come through as they are meant to. And understand that the messages aren't always easy to hear or comfortable for people. But it's like whatever the thing is that we may have judgment about can always there's a very real potential that it can like hinder the message if there is too much judgment around it. So that could be just like a side note for somebody here as well. The ability to do something like this and lay the judgment aside, which, to be fair, when we're in our higher states of consciousness or a higher vibration, elevated energy or something like that, or whatever it is that you kind of resonate with that in a transcended state, we often can understand that without, like, we know it true in our soul. We know it to be true, and we don't have to explain that to anybody. And there's that kind of confidence and that speaking with alignment and authenticity that precedes us when we're able to embody that. Okay, so with that said, we'll start reading from the book. Okay, so no, I haven't missed anything else. Judgment. There is also something here. I don't know if some of you are currently biting your tongue about something, or it's like maybe you know that your judgment, I don't know, what is it? Is it undeveloped or overdeveloped? Or like you're worried that if you say something that you will be judged because of, I guess, when you call something out, maybe not call something out, if you put a label on something or make an observation or a judgment yourself, it's like fear of judgment around the judgment call that you make, if hopefully that makes sense. All right, so the image, we don't need to talk about that. Okay. Meaning. Okay. So when them bones appears in a reading, you're being reminded that it is time to focus on what you need rather than what you want. And most likely you'll have to make some tough choices. But if you're willing to put your ego aside and do what you have to do, the best possible outcome is guaranteed. Them bones may be reminding you that people are going to talk about you no matter what you do. So make sure that you remain in alignment with your goals, dreams, and aspirations. Acknowledge that no one escapes judgment, even if the judge is oneself. Them bones could also indicate that it is time for a more in-depth reading concerning a matter of great importance, and this reading will provide relief and solutions to your problems. So some extra points for consideration is it may be time for an honest self-assessment. What is your reputation? Are you still in alignment with it? If you want a fresh start, start fresh. The neutral position is no longer an option. Do others need to know where you stand on that issue? If so, stop stalling and tell them. Yeah, cool. And I don't really feel called to go into the rest of it right now for today's reading, so that's where we're going to land with that one. We're going to take another card. It is cool about how we did get a confirmation on quite a few things that we've spoken about. I am getting something about there could be like two people that this judgment is in regards to as well. So two people that could be making, I don't know if it's like particularly the fact that you're concerned about the judgments that they will make, or that it's like something that they've done where you are in a sense required to make a judgment about a situation, or I guess whether you would want them in your life or to be around them, or about something that happened. It's like you could potentially be in a position where other people weight your opinion quite heavily, and because of that, other people are actually waiting to see what it is that you come to conclusion with about this situation. So I am getting that message here to like not be afraid to get it wrong, okay? So if that's something that you feel is holding you back, that could be something that you need a helpful reminder of. And I just need to touch on, because we are having like the second house, a 12th house. Second house or 12th house? 12th house. Okay, so there could be something here that you don't see about a situation. Actually, do you know what? I'm going to roll the other two dice as well, because I felt really called for that, and I didn't think I was going to throw the dice, and it's just happened, and now I'm feeling called to roll the others. Wow. Okay, so we have Scorpio and we have North Node. So there could definitely be something here that you are not seeing, or that others are not seeing about you. Others may not have seen some type of like great transformation that you've gone through, or this is something that you're not really recognizing about yourself. So that would make sense, as in you wouldn't like give yourself a lot of grace because maybe in the past you weren't so eloquent, maybe in the past you weren't so tactful, or you weren't subtle enough, or something like maybe in the past you weren't always the best communicator, but there needs to be like a recognition that you have kind of gotten to that point. 12th house can also speak to a spirituality, and I mean, to get like the them bones card come out, as much as it is judgment, it also speaks to me of like judgment from a higher place, right? Because it's like using that divinatory tool to have that laid out in front of us. So, you know, in essence, it can help us make our own judgment when we don't always necessarily have access to like a higher elevated position. We also have Juniper and the Banes. What else is here that I've missed? North Node. Something about what you're supposed to speak on is part of like your purpose and your pathway. So I don't really feel like there's any way, like in Scorpio, to me, I don't know how to explain it, but it always feels like there is no choice. Like for me, Scorpio has a lot of associations with transformation and like reclaiming sovereignty, and it's just it's coming, it's like the transformation from where we begin to where we end up at, and undergoing really hard processes. So it's kind of like, and you know, there's the for those of you that, you know, may not know a lot about the zodiac placements, Scorpio can also be associated with the eagle, but also the phoenix. So the eagle is like a higher, I guess, viewpoint, or seeing things from a different angle, like an aerial view potentially. And I was kind of picking up slightly on an Aquarian energy earlier. So just take what resonates here. The zodiacs don't actually have to resonate for you, but Aquarius is like the bigger picture, like the aerial view, right? Kind of seeing everything. But there's also, when we talk about the phoenix, it's that highlighted transformational process where it's like the constant death and rebirth of like the just being broken down to be born again stronger and bigger and greater, with like more vitality and just like more fierce, more power than we ever have before. Okay. So those of you that speaks to, that could also be a strong confirmation. We also have something here regarding like the colors like indigo and purple. So for some of you, your third eye, I specifically feel like it's a third eye energy. There could be something here where you're called to eat these color foods to help kind of, what am I trying to say? I was getting the words accentuate, but I mean, what I'm trying to say is, you know, in terms of like energy healing and color healing, we can sometimes talk about like eating certain foods can be associated with the balancing of the chakra that color is related to. So, you know, those colors can be related to the crown chakra. For this reading, I'm specifically getting it that it's the third eye chakra. I don't know what the other chakra it is related to, because I can't actually remember all the Sanskrit names. I used to be really good at it, and since I haven't done Reiki for such a long time, it's just, I've been in the season of life where a lot of that has had to kind of go to the back burner, and, you know, I can't remember all of it. But I was also getting Svadhisthana, so I'll just quickly check, because that could be one of the lower chakras, but I can't remember. That also could be like incorrect pronunciation, but I'm just, no, that is not what I want. Oh no, that is correct. Secondary, so sacral chakra, yeah. Okay, cool. Well, that makes sense. So there could be something here where it's like, yeah, we want to do things that can help us with our third eye chakra, but it could be relative to our sacral chakra as well, where if for whatever reason you're able to kind of get one balanced or unblocked, the other one will automatically fall into alignment and kind of open up or clear out and do its own thing. Sometimes it can very much work that way. And I can't necessarily speak to what that will look like individually for all of you. Of course, this is like a general reading. So yeah, I do personal readings, if that's something that you're interested in, I have an email usually listed in the description or potentially on my channel bio, that if you're interested in sussing something out like that, we can look into. But I think this would be something that, even if you are able to just do a meditation, for those of you that are able to access that, that would be something very helpful, where I don't think you would need any extra like outside help from anybody else. But again, you can also do things like wearing those colors, eating foods those colors, so like blueberries specifically would be good in terms of that indigo kind of purple color. And with the orange foods, I feel like maybe like a papaya or something with that kind of deeper orange. But I am going to take a look at the book for, actually, maybe we'll see if we can get anything off the card. I feel like I need to speak more about the sacral chakra. So sacral chakra can be expression, but I'm also, I don't know, I'm also getting it like linked to like a firmness. And so there's something here where it's like maybe we're not very firm in our expression, or it could be the case of that's maybe the imbalance, is that we're like so firm in our expression, and there's call to soften, because if we're like truly honoring our expression, we don't have to kind of exert it. It's you know, it's like a creative energy, and it can be linked with what's the word, like the reproductive system as well. So like an energy around intimacy, like physical intimacy. And so there could be something here where there could be a blockage in some sort of creative pursuit, or I guess passion project, for the lack of a better expression. It could just be something as simple as the ability to cry when you feel sad, or like to emote, I guess in a way that is accurately reflective of your inner state or your inner sense of being. And so it could be something here where it's like, maybe for whatever reason you have been too rigid in the way that you allowed yourself to emote, which makes a lot of sense here in terms of a protective type of energy, or potentially talking about a fear of rejection, or even like mistreatment. So it's like maybe you've been quite reserved or pulled back. It's really hard to say. There could be like a strong rigidity in certain areas, but a lot of reservation in others. And it's like those boundaries are really high. And I don't know if the boundaries need to be quite as high. I'm not saying don't have boundaries. We all need them. We all need that, that like a little bit of self-protection and the ability to honor and be in our own energy in such like a way that really helps us and is conducive to our well-being. But there's something here where it's like, maybe we wouldn't need such high boundaries if we had a better ability, or were better equipped to kind of emote or express ourselves in a way that is honoring ourselves. And I think there could be something there where we could potentially touch on topics like rejection is divine protection. And so maybe when you have that full expression and you allow yourself to do that, you'll find certain people will naturally fall away. And it's all part and parcel of this human experience that we are here able to like readily embrace. I am getting some sort of what is it, like a contrasting energy between like the sun and the moon. So it's like the light and the dark, and there it is in element, like we do touch on topics such as integration, but I feel like this is part of like integrating our shadow, right? I feel like a lot of that kind of goes hand in hand when we talk about like chakras and energy healing as well, when we get really down into it. One part of it could be the things that we allow others to see, and the things that we do not allow others to see. And the 12th house can be things that are not seen, right? So good confirmation there as well. Scorpio in like the Western astrology can also be like, it's ruled by Pluto in Western astrology or tropical astrology. So it also, Pluto is something that can kind of be an under the radar driving factor as well. So why, like, we can touch on topics such as subconscious with that confirmation of the moon as well. So I feel called to mention, like, you know, when we talk about the moon, if you live in a coastal area, you can see how, like, the tides are linked with the moon, of like the water coming in and out off of the beaches or wherever that is. And if it's a particularly like sandy area, like a sandy beach, you can see the ripples of the water, like the imprints that are left from the tide coming in and out as well. And there are times where you can kind of see the clouds emanating or reflecting, I guess, the patterns that you would naturally find in the sand as well. And it's kind of a reminder that, like, everything is integrated, interconnected, and linked together. We are just part of the earth. We are just like human. We are meant to be here. We belong here just the same way that the animals do. We are an animal, essentially. So, and there is something here that it's like, if you're a label, if you are able to allow yourself, to honor, I guess, the parts of yourself that are maybe not as civilized, then that could help us transcend this moment as well. Like, if you think of a child and the child gets upset and the child cries, and that's okay. Like, the universe does not crucify the child for crying because it is sad or because something has happened. And so, like, in terms of the animal kingdom, you know, there's no real, I don't know how to explain it. I don't want to get into nitty gritty. I'm not really here to prove a point to people, but it's like the animal just does what the animal does, and nobody is saying that the animal is bad. And I don't want that to be taken outside of context. I feel like this is a group that holds themselves to such a high standard that maybe that's also one of those things, is that your personal standards need to come down a little bit. And I think that you would see this in honest reflections in the way that people mirror you, or the way that people kind of communicate to, and they may not really readily outwardly express it, although I feel some people would, but it might be quite subtle because people are just trying to, like, just let you be you. Like, the people don't need to encroach or have a say on how you be you. It's okay for you to do that any way you choose. But you may find that, like, your standards are so high that maybe you're being very hard on yourself, where it's like, I don't know, there could be something here where it's like you don't think highly enough about yourself. And so it's like you think if you hold yourself to this higher standard or higher bar, that's somehow going to fix that. So just take what resonates there. It could be, I don't always get the sacral chakra necessarily line up in terms of like self-worth, but I guess there has to be, it has to be like a base standard on our way to self-worth, right? Or confidence at least, where it's like, why? It's like you're holding yourself, it's like you're restricting yourself, or like smothering yourself or suffocating yourself in such a way that you are no longer allowed to be human. And it's too harsh to yourself, like it's too much for your own well-being. Okay, with that being said, some of you could benefit from like a smoke clearing or smudging or saging, whatever that looks like for you. And there could be something here where juniper is relative to your ancestors, or maybe a land that a certain lineage of ancestors have come from in some sense. This could be as simple as having a grandmother that had like a juniper bush in the front yard or something. But with that said, I will get the book and read from these. Okay. I do realize that with this reading, it's already become quite in depth, and this could be something that, I don't know, I guess we don't always have the space to just like move through a quick 10-minute reading that like is straightforward and tells you necessarily the things that you would like to know, as opposed to the things that are best for our higher self and our greatest good. So I think it's important to allow yourself time to be able to have moments where you can explore ideas like this, where you have the space carved out to, in a sense, be able to actually explore it, like go there, entertain it. So, okay. So we have cleansing, pioneering, magic, criticism, self-consciousness, and longevity. Yeah, I feel like that's perfect. I don't need to go any further with that. Obviously, we talked a lot about like a criticism, topics that were on theme with self-consciousness, cleansing in terms of like that smoke clearing energy. And there could be something here where you are maybe the first of your like ancestral line or in some arena of your life to actually do whatever the thing is that you're doing. And I'm not sure what that looks like. It's going to be different for everybody, okay? So other people around you may not understand this and it may look different to them, may be mystifying. It would not surprise me if other people, in some ways, even if they're really drawn into it and find it very interesting, could potentially, you could actually face quite a bit of criticism in terms of whatever this is over or about, or the different ways that you explore this, just because you are the first person, you are the pioneer for this. And, you know, we talk about magic, we did touch on kind of esoteric, you know, like divinatory practices and things like that could be a thing as well. So that being said, we'll move on to the Banes. Is it B or T? Wow, too far. You know, whenever we look at the Banes, my mind immediately goes to like Wolfsbane out of all the movies. That's like, could, you know, potentially be like life ending or threatening for a person. So there could be something here where that's the weight, like that's how it feels to your nervous system, but also not all Banes are of that class, I guess you could say. There's obviously lots of other things that we could, like lots of other information or uses here. There's lots more to be gained from knowing about it. Why? There, here we go. Okay, so we have power, unexpected aid, relief, ill will, betrayal, and difficulty. Yeah, there definitely could be a person here who would intentionally misconstrue what it is that you have to say, or this could have been something that you dealt with quite a lot in the past, and that could have been part of how you could have potentially like really internalized when that's happened. So that's why you're holding yourself to such like a incredibly high standard. It's like impossible, right? I need you to know that it's like you don't need to do that. You're already great. Like you're already well-intended, you're keeping your house clean. It's like, you know, when I'm referencing that, it's very much like an analogy for like your integrity and your morals and holding yourself in high esteem and everything. So it's like, because people have done that in the past, it's like you feel this need to just like hold yourself to such a super high standard that like other people cannot possibly say that you are doing something wrong, right? Because you know that you're doing everything right. But it's okay for you to be human and make errors along the way. And it's okay for other people to misunderstand that, especially if it's like, you know, intentionally. And that in itself will also be part of that process of weeding people out, right? But also we talked about that unexpected aid. And so it is something here where I think you might find, if you are in your power, and like I think there's something here where it's like you are quite strong in your discerning energy. So if you give yourself that freedom and stand in your power, you'll find in the long run, or at least immediately afterwards, that there's a great sense of relief when you no longer have to deal with that situation, or you're no longer potentially having to like kind of run into that being something that could kind of get you later. There's a sense that you may be able to relax more and lower some of these standards or these boundaries when you've really weeded out your garden, because the people around you are much safer mentally or emotionally, at the very least, for you to be around. Okay, that's actually everything that I have for you today, Group 1. So this was quite a lovely reading. So in terms of like where you can upgrade, I feel like we've already talked about it. It's almost this whole reading is basically being on theme today, which is really lovely. Hopefully this is helpful to you all in some way. Definitely let me know in the comments. And if you are new here, or I guess even if you're returning, but you haven't subscribed and you find that this message has resonated for you today, definitely subscribe so that you can get the notifications when more readings come out, and I'll see you in another one. Take care. Okay, welcoming group 2. If you chose the Saheki or the Reiki symbol, rose quartz stone, then this will be your group reading today for where can you upgrade. And the very first card that we have is the King of Swords. So there is something here where you are quite elevated in some type of like transcendent mindset or understanding of the universe. And it doesn't matter if that looks spiritual in the way that that manifests or not. But I'll read a little bit of a message that I had written down before we get started with the cards. So there is something here where you could potentially have a very harsh negative inner critic, and you could benefit from some sort of like Reiki session or what's that prayer? It's like the Honopono. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. I will look it up, and if that's incorrect, I'll kind of list that under group 2, just so people can look into that if that's something that they want to do. And seeing things from a transcendent elevated level can be hard to grasp in the 3D. And although you are accepting, you don't need to be so hard on yourself. So it's like you could be really struggling with having some type of like high insight that maybe a lot of the people around you do not, or it doesn't make sense when you think about or look at what you know to be true and how to kind of integrate that in the day-to-day. It's like feeling isolated in this higher understanding in some way. And I feel like you are very wise though. There's something here where you're like very on point. I think other people see you this way. It wouldn't go astray if you wanted to teach people about this if you don't already. And I think there's something about this and the way you embody it and the way that you carry yourself that does make you quite like attractive in some sense. I do want to take some more cards so that we can kick this. Oh, I need to talk about the Reiki symbol Saheki first. So Saheki can be, I have done Reiki before. I'm actually like a Reiki practitioner. I'm just not practicing at this point in time. But it can be all about like harmonizing energy. So as to relieve ourselves of like negative energy, in essence, like a transmuting it. And is there anything else that we need to touch on? No. Okay, so strong call for harmony here, because there could be a lot of inner turmoil as far as the mind goes, especially around these concepts. Okay. So let's see what we have. Okay, so you could potentially find yourself or other people in some type of like competitive energy with you. And I wasn't really getting too much about that energy, so that could be something that we end up kind of touching on. Actually, now I'm speaking about it and I'm hearing the backbiter. We actually have Scorpio that's come up on the astro dice, and so you can hear a lot of people sort of reference Scorpio to be known as the backbiter, where it can be kind of operating through our agendas in a very sneaky manner, I guess you could say, with a lack of regard for other people. And I'm not saying all Scorpios do this, but I'm just saying it's something that has been like attached or associated with the Scorpio zodiac. And we also have the moon and the 10th house. So there could be something here where whoever it is that I'm speaking about in terms of this competitive energy, this could be something that's like very well known. It's like the reputation precedes this person. Their moon space is also potentially in, I was hearing toxic, but I wanted to say like a watery zodiac potentially. It doesn't have to be. The best way I could explain this energy is that it's like very intense, all consuming, and everybody can see it. So there could also be something here where it's like, I don't know how this could all tie in. For some of you, it could be a call to have compassion for yourself while you have to experience this, if that is relative to you. And if this is not relative to you and this is like a person that you're potentially dealing with or coming up against as someone like this, then there is actually a strong call for you to like have compassion regarding this person. And if it is something that you are struggling with during this time and you are in a line, you know, it's not unheard of for you to kind of make way in terms of like prayer or reaching out to particular deities. Kuan Yin could be a particularly good one for you to make contact with in regards to how to best handle the situation or to ask for a higher understanding here in some sense. But again, a lot of you do already kind of have this higher understanding, but it could be, as much as we talked about, and it came off in maybe some of the language I used was like kind of more spiritually aligned language. There could be something here where it's like a logic. So you could have like a higher understanding of logic, and they kind of can be like a bit of a bridge here where the two meet, like in terms of like logic within our having a really good understanding of people's psyches and subconscious and unconscious, and how like psychological kind of how people's psychology works, and like emotions and the things that how people operate and what are the driving factors and whatnot. And there could also be something here in terms of like your spirituality also kind of like coming up through a healing side of everything and transformational energy, where you can really get a good understanding of kind of both sides of like a yin and yang-esque energies. So it's like when I'm talking about hard science, I understand that psychology is a soft science. It is not hard science, but it is an exact science as far as I understand. Whereas something like Reiki, I think it could be at a point where it has been proven past being considered like a pseudoscience. But I think generally most people would consider the principles of Reiki in terms of like how that physically manifests or energetically manifests still as a pseudoscience. So there is something here where it's like you're able to bridge the gap between both worlds through this understanding. And there could be something here where maybe it's like, I don't know what I'm trying to get. It could be misunderstood. It could be something where people project onto. There could be something here about people think you have an agenda where you don't, or you could have an agenda, but it's really driven from like an emotional state. I just want to take a moment to kind of ground this, because I feel like there could be a lot more here that's going to be really important to unpack this in the correct way, in a more helpful way. I just want to make sure that any energy from the previous group has been cleared out before we go any further. And then we'll take a moment to kind of ground if that wasn't enough to be able to do it. Some of you, this could speak to needing that energy clearing, that like reiteration or that confirmation of the energy clearing, like we did mention at the start in regards to Reiki or some type of like compassion prayer, like the Ho'oponopono. And sometimes that can just be in terms of like release, because it can kind of bring up a lot for us when we do that. And that in itself can kind of be like a bridging gap for us as well in terms of our alignment. So lots of spiritual talk here. So you definitely could consider yourself on your path in some sense. Yeah, okay. Let's see. Smoky quartz could also be a good crystal for you to work with if that is something that you feel called to. Okay, so there is also something here where if you know yourself to be a person who previously in the past let your emotions kind of override your agenda, to kind of your emotions being the driving factor of having an agenda, and that's why it precedes you. That could be part of that, like how you have to have compassion for yourself. I just want to see what do we have. Transcendent, grasping the 3D, although there's like a very strong duality, like dualistic energy that I'm getting come through here, that I'm having a hard time trying to place the two together. So I would just say that, you know, everybody has already lived a life, and that's okay. And all we can do is try our best going forward to have the intention to kind of be like, genuinely wanting the best for ourselves and other people in cohesion. Yeah. There could also be something here about the deeper understanding. Like maybe a lot of what we understand, I don't want to say it's surface level because we touched on such topics as like the moon and Scorpio and a transcendent nature and whatnot. But there just could be something here where it's like we're still not really integrated ourselves, which would make sense. Ivy, I just had one more where... Okay, we're not doing that. All right. So we have confirmation on a clearing energy or a cleansing energy. Wait a minute, that might not... I mean, that is something that we need, but that might not be the point and purpose. Definitely a strong call for a lot of healing here that could bring about a lot of relief, especially for the things that are under the surface that we might not see. And they could be in relation to family or early childhood kind of scenarios. And getting like a strong sort of fourth house or like moon energy for that. So something under the surface. So this could be like how our mind works. And we did talk about that strong or harsh inner critic. And maybe how that has come up out of something like our family roots. Or something from the mother that could have been inherited or emulated as part of like that was our role model, and so that was what we learnt, right? And we're having compassion for all of this, okay? I don't know whether the competition is something on your side or other people or something that you've just randomly come up against in life. It does seem to be like a repeated theme here, but there is something here to like just know and trust that whatever it is that you want to do or that you can do, that you can, and it's like really not about other people, it's really just about you. And if you know that you can, even in those moments where you might tend to get a bit insecure, and you can have compassion for yourself and just like do the thing anyway, then it really doesn't matter about how good other people are doing, okay? And so that could also be something here. For some of you, you could be like closely linked or related to this person through some type of like extended kind of healing field, like industry, like a wellness industry or some type of like spiritual esque workshopy type of industry, or like a greater community of some kind, where it could be like really close, like too close for comfort, or like in your backyard or something. You could live close by, or there could be something here where your reputation is clashing with this agenda that you have in some sense. Maybe this is because it's not your actual, it could be could be about your actual reputation, because we did get a message about your reputation preceding you, but part of it could be the reputation that you would like to have. And so it's like having that agenda to actually put forth or, obtain a particular reputation through taking action to kind of getting there to do that. But it does seem very like under the radar. It's like, I'm not sure. All right, I'm just going to see what else we can get in here. There's just something here where it's like anything that can grow for another person can grow for you too. And anything that, can grow for you can grow for another person. And I'm just getting a little bit of background noise, so I'll just take another card while we're waiting. I just heard something about like greed, but we'll just take what resonates here and move on, because I also seen this little face here on the Ivy card where it's like kind of hidden in plain sight, right? So we'll just take those and go. We also have I hide behind material things. And I have lost faith in you and cannot see a future with you anymore. So you and this person could be at odds or in no contact, or could have separated in somehow. So you or this person could actually have like a Scorpio zodiac. There could be something here in terms of like the synastry of your charts where it's like one person's agenda does not fit in with another person's reputation or something like that. As in, yeah, we're going to leave that. Because it could be something where if you have a good reputation, or this person has a good reputation, the other person involved is like very sneaky or underhanded, or it like clashes with their goal of them having a good reputation, as if there's not like enough good reputational energy to go around in some sense. So it does speak to potentially like a lack mindset here that might need a bit of work as well. So that harmonizing energy, I mean, you could be like a Reiki healer, energy healer. I already talked about spiritual and well-being-esque type industries where, yeah, going and getting a session might be helpful for you. But if you actually are the Reiki healer or the energy healer, working or getting in tune with the Saheki symbol could actually be really helpful for you in harmonizing some of this, maybe more than you have previously been able to. And I think that you would probably gain quite a lot from whatever comes out of that. We also have I left when I saw you with someone. And it's time for me to heal now. Where is this? I might just see. So you or this person could have had like other friends or other connections kind of in close, I don't know, like in your day-to-day or in the same community, or it was like too close for home or too close for comfort or something for this other, like one of you. So like we could have a person here that could, I don't know, have a tendency to be a little bit possessive. It's maybe not possessive, it's like insecure. But it's weird because that initial energy that I was picking up on was like not insecure at all. So this really could be like the inverse, like the other person was quite insecure. And so they may have had some type of behavior, or they may have really like, I don't know if I would say they abandoned the connection necessarily, but you could have seen through something that they did, and it was like you knew that you couldn't go any further with this situation if that's like the mindset that they have, is that you can't have other friends or other close connections or just other connections in general in a greater community, or that you can't have that kind of strong reputation. There was something here where they really weren't cool with it. And then there also could be something here, it doesn't matter, it could be like a mirrored energy potentially, or just something in terms of the reputational energy where it's like, I hide behind material things. And so sometimes this can be like a distracting, coping, feeding our ego potentially energy, or it could also just be part of that projection of how they put themselves out to the world, where it's like, I don't know how to explain it. Maybe projection is the wrong way. It's how we portray ourselves to the world. So this person, you or this person, whoever it is I'm referencing, could have that like strong agenda to want to present as being quite high up reputationally in terms of like the healing industry or wellness industry or spiritual industry. But it's like they materially will embrace that. So it's like, and there's nothing wrong with doing that, but I feel like they make it their mission to only portray that type of, what was I going to say? Like a vision, like they only want to be seen that way. Okay. So like you wouldn't really see them, you know, without something that was a strong signifier that they were that way for whatever reason. Yeah, I feel like we need to move past that because I don't want to get too bogged down in it. I feel like that's not going to be the case for everybody. I do want to take some more cards before we move on. But there's also that message here of it's time for me to heal now. So there could have been something here. I am picking up on an energy of like resentment or a skepticism or a why does that happen for you and not me? Or even if it's not that, because there's, again, different things for different people here. Like I had so much compassion for you and you felt like it may not have been reciprocated, or I think there's something here where if somebody was trying to fly under the radar with an agenda that they were seen, some type of move was seen or picked up on. So I could like definitely just flip the energy here for what actually like resonates. But if this situation doesn't resonate, don't try to make it fit. There is also something here where it's like this person, you or this person could have packaged something to be like better for another person's well-being than what it really was. Like maybe it was like poisonous, or maybe it just didn't have like the potency in terms of like the healing that it should have. Or there's something here about making out that you have like a stronger potency than you do, or I don't really like kind of getting into that energy, but when it comes up, I have to address it, right? We also have it's too late, I moved on and do not wish to reconnect. So it could be this this person or your energy with them, depending what side of that you're on. We also have, I just actually got like the word unicorn. So you or this person, you could have like been in each other's eyes like an almost unimaginably real version of everything that this person wanted or that you wanted, where it's like, wow, I might not ever find a person like that again. Okay. So we have seek out information that will help you. Oh, there is literally the unicorn. How cool is that? Use your intuition to make beneficial change. And strong emotion, passionate love or hate. So there could be like that very strong like love or hate relationship here, where maybe before whatever this was that played out happened, there was like a lot of love. Now there could be a lot of hate, or it could be like a person that you love to hate or a person that you hate to love. Or it's almost like a tumultuous kind of bitter energy a little bit there as well. But there is something here where you do have the ability to find out what it is that you need to do and make a change, like take action towards making a change. And for some of you, that is using your intuition to be able to do that, where it very much feels like we're not feeding our ego. We are, I guess, as part of the journey, finding a way to acknowledge our ego as part of our being human and having compassion through that process. And even in the times that it feels unglamorous or sad or very painful or gloomy or depressing, or like whatever the thing is that it brings up. Maybe for some of you even touches on a little bit of hopelessness here or something, because you may already feel like you've come so far, and you potentially could feel like all you do is like work, but there's also something here where it's like you're not going to get to the level that you want to if you're not kind of prepared to do it either. Yeah. So that's actually everything that I have for you today, group 2. Hopefully this is helpful to you all in some way. Definitely make sure that you go do whatever that kind of healing thing is that you need to do for yourself, for your soul, whatever it is that you feel called to. Definitely some sort of energy healing or clearing. For those of you that meditate, that could also be something really helpful. And yeah, take care of yourselves, and I'll see you in the next one. Okay, welcome in group 3. If you chose the polished tumble, then this will be your reading today. The theme of today's pick a card is where can you upgrade? And the first message that I was getting when I was like pulling the cards was perfectionism is strong. We obviously have the Hermit card here as well. And the Hermit is relative to the like Virgo zodiac sign, which is known for perfectionism traits and whatnot. Doesn't mean that you have to be Virgo, but it also could be a good confirmation of Virgo placements. So we also had your self-worth and inner power is greater than being great at things and other people's validation or your usefulness to them. So we have, I know what I am doing. I play dumb to keep you confused. I don't understand what you see in me. I don't feel attractive. So this definitely could be in terms of like some type of like romantic, partnered relationship or connection here. And I'm just going to take some more cards and see what else we get. There's definitely something here where your self-worth could be like wrapped up in what another person thinks of you or the reflection of how they treat you, when in reality their actions should not be taken personally. Which I know it can be very hard to hear that or to practice that if we're not used to it. Some of you just need a gentle reminder, you know you're well on your path with that. But it's like, you are great regardless of how a person treats you, and you are you. It doesn't change your character. It doesn't change your worth as a human being, because another person doesn't know how to act right, okay? Okay, we are going to roll the zodiac dice as well. For some of you, spending some time on your own could actually be super important for your own sense of self and your self-worth. And that's something that you're just not going to get from other people, spending time with other people or basing how they treat you. It's like you've internalized others' treatment of you, okay? All right, so we're going to roll these. So we have Libra, 12th house, and Uranus. So with Libra, this is very much speaking about like that relational energy, how people relate to you and kind of how you are in your relationships. We've got the 12th house here, which is very much the things that like are not seen. They are hidden. I feel like this could be, with Uranus there could be something like weird like you could notice like weird things, or other people could notice like kind of weird things in terms of how you relate to each other that the other person does not see. Or there could be something here where it's like other people outside of the one-to-one connection might not see something about how the relationships are playing out in some sense. And there could also be some type of call to embrace like a rebellious type of energy, or allow yourself to be eccentric if that's like what you want to do or how you feel. Something about yourself, it's like authentic to who you are. There is also something here where it's like if you're feeling quite lonely or isolated, or like it's hard to be connect with people that are the same as you because you may feel so different, that getting on the internet and trying to find like-minded people might be like a really helpful thing that you can do. Obviously always keep your wits about yourself, especially when we're entering into the realm of like, you know, interacting or connecting with people that we don't know. But I feel like there's many ways that you can manage that in a way that would be quite safe for you, as long as you are being like mindful of how you do that. So I'll leave that up to you. Obviously we have responsibility for our discernment, like in any decisions that we make. And I would never let a random person on the internet tell me like what to do and what I need to do in my life. But if that is something that, you know, strongly resonates for you, and it's something that you figure that you would do off your own back, then I would take that as confirmation. Okay. So with the railroad bill, I do feel, I don't know if this is like a Cancer-esque energy. It is making me think of Cancer, even if it is not, but we will see if I can get something here. I think there's something here reputationally about how you've affected, I don't know if it's an industry over time, or if it is like a way of doing things, or the fact that you were able to do something when others didn't want you to, potentially in some way. There's like a paving the way here, but I just want to see what else I get. I don't know, getting anything extra off that card. I'll try the Ace of Baskets is like Ace of Cups, so it's like being like the ability to renew ourselves or to like pour into ourselves. It's like refilling yourself, like filling your own cup, as if it was like magic potentially, or as if like it was something that you maybe haven't always been able to do. But I'm going to read from the book on Railroad Bill. Yeah, the Chariot. Okay, great. So that is Cancer. Let's see. All right, so we need to read the whole thing for this. Yeah, it strongly speaks to a victory as well. So Railroad Bill was a labourer with no clear past, as his name, place of birth, and many other details about his life remain a mystery. What we do know is that the authorities claimed he was a man named Morris Slater, and we know the hell he put them through. It all started in 1894, while Bill was employed as a turpentine worker in Bluff Springs, Florida, when after an altercation he exchanged gunshots with a deputy. The cause of the row has been lost to time, but it was from that day on that he became an outlaw. Bill committed train robberies and engaged in fatal gunfights with lawmen and bounty hunters who traveled from all over the country to collect the substantial bounty on his head. Bill usually rode along the Louisville and Nashville Railroad, the L&N, in southern Alabama. Naturally, the daily reports of a Negro desperado gunning down white men sold a lot of newspapers, and it didn't take long before a folk hero akin to Robin Hood was born. According to members of the black community at the time, Bill used his spiritual powers as a conjureman to avoid capture by transforming himself into a fox to throw dogs off his trail. He became the personification of the clever trickster who appears in both Indigenous American and African folklore, so much so that his legend continued to grow well into the 20th century. There are many songs about Railroad Bill by artists such as Riley Puckett, Vera Ward Hall, is it Gid or Jid Tanner, Thomas Dorsey, Will Bennett, Jack Elliott, Bill Williams, Joan Baez, and others. In 1981, Bill was resurrected and cheered by the working class once again when the musical play Railroad Bill was produced by New York City's Labor Theatre, one that was founded specifically to attract proletariats. I don't know if I pronounced that right. Okay, so for the meaning, we have when Railroad Bill turns up, you are being encouraged to increase your efforts to ensure victory. It's a reminder of the characteristics that are required to win: confidence, determination, discipline, persistence, and assertiveness. Now is the time to adopt a take no prisoners attitude towards anybody or anything that attempts to get in your way. If you are not aggressive or ambitious by nature, then this card is a warning that you must toughen up or risk the loss of what you've worked so hard for. Okay, so I thought that was like really important to read for this particular reading. So the author of the Hoodoo Tarot, Tayana Lee McQuillar, has done, like, you can tell she's put a lot of work into all of the meanings and descriptions of the cards there. So, okay, that being said, we need to move on. There is there's definitely something about you. It could be like beautiful or mystifying. Potentially could be beautifying if that's like an industry standard or work that you do, especially, you know, being quite like polished and put together. I kind of get the energy of not a hair out of place, but also like perfectly imperfect in a way. So that's actually really beautiful. There's something you actually could just be like really externally physically attractive. I get like a very pretty face and like really beautiful hair. It just like naturally falls really nicely or something like that. Obviously, you know, we can flip the energy here in terms of like gender. The gender here doesn't really matter. So what I would say is that if you are of like a masculine energy, there could be something here where it's like you're like very clean cut, very put together, very like fresh in your aesthetic or something. And so you could still have hair that is like perfectly imperfect in some way, but I feel like for the most part there's probably not hair out of place. Okay. I'm getting the word like magnificent as well. So I feel like this would be the group you'd be quite adept at whatever it is that you do. And I feel like anytime you are outside of this put together energy, could actually make you feel really awkward, or like you stick out like a sore thumb, or you're not comfortable being in that energy that is quite weird or different, or there's something here about potentially being seen as weird, different, or eccentric, that, or even rebellious, because it's like that going against the grain energy, where it's like you're being very much encouraged to like go after what it is that you want. Like they literally said taking no prisoners, right, in terms like, you know, what it is that you're doing. So this could speak to a person here who is like playing dumb on purpose to keep you confused, and they could have like an insecurity that is, I guess, in some sense is like railroading over the top of other people, or in the pursuit of this kind of self-love type of, you know, fulfillment or gratification that they're wanting to reach. But this also could be you on the flip, on like their, you know, the flipped energy here as well. There could be a touch of like a manipulative energy here in terms of how those goals, like how you're positioned and how you get there, or how you come across in terms of the relationships as well. And that's not necessarily for everybody, so only take what resonates there. there is something here about like leaving people in your wake as well. So this could be a time, like we did get that mention about like, you know, potentially like pulling back from connections that are not authentic to who we are and trying to reach out to others who are more like-minded or more likely linked to something that it is that you do. Yeah, so something here in like how you're so polished and how you present yourself that could throw people off in some way. So this could look like having a slick back ponytail versus dreads if that's something that you like, right? And it doesn't have to be that extreme. Yeah, and obviously the inverse for like, you know, on the flip side of the gender as well, or whatever it is. That it's just an example, okay? All right, so we want another card. I'm just hearing like it's okay for you to be you. So you may not have like granted yourself permission for that in the past. So we also have, I have things going on in my life that require my full attention. So there is a big hole in my heart that I cannot fill on my own. So this could be something here where it's like we really need to be paying attention and not distracting ourselves through whatever it is that we're currently facing. But there is also that call here to not just want to like fill the void with another person's presence or distraction. I might just try taking one more card. I feel like we're getting quite close to the end here, so I don't want to like drag it out too much. But where can you upgrade? It's like seems to be like a calling to spend more time on your own. There could be a call for more introspection here as well. And with Ma'at, it has like the feather of justice, I guess. So it's like when Anubis weighs the hearts, when people would enter into the afterlife, it would kind of deem, I guess, the rest of their existence in the afterlife, like what they would experience going forth based off how they lived and the decisions that they made at the time. So there's something here about, I feel like you could be, I'm just like coming through a bit choppy. I'm just going to see. I'm just getting something here like you are justice. So it's like something in like you might live quite honestly or quite clearly or cleanly where, and you could be, it's like it's justice for you to live an empowered life. It's like justice for you to be confident, to have willpower, to have confidence. It's justice for you to understand that you can be all these things. It's okay for you to feel like you are getting your justice. And I don't mean that in terms of like enacting your own karma, but as in letting the natural course of things play out in such a way that karma kind of precedes you or your experience in some way. But also, if someone is mistreating you, it's okay to hold them accountable as well. So there could be something there like that. Just like flip what needs to be here. I feel like there's probably more energy here that wants to come up, but it's not really part of this reading. It seems to be like an external thing. So there could be something here where other people's sense of self-worth in how they interact with you, again, it's like that reiteration of that message. It's really like coming through in a way that could be like overpowering in some sense. And so where I feel like this message is not really meant to be about this other person. I know there are times where it comes through where it needs to be acknowledged and it's part of like a message that needs to be received for your highest, greatest good. This does not feel like one of those times. This feels like a person who wants to kind of push all their stuff onto you, if that makes sense. And so we're like kind of being directed. I'm being directed to not entertain that any further. We're just going to leave it where it is. If this is something that is meant to be kind of further entertained, that will come up in, you know, the future readings that come out anyway. I also have a whole library of timeless readings. All of my readings are timeless. So that is something that if you wanted to find a more closely related topic from a previous video that you could go back and explore, something like that that you think may come up, then you're welcome to do so. Just keep in mind that intention does go a long way, but it doesn't always necessarily guarantee who's going to come through. So that's something to be mindful of as well. But also sometimes our own energy can come through. And so in which case you could see yourself coming through as this person in somebody else's story. And so that may be something that will direct kind of how you move forward as well when we're taking that into account. And Spirit just wants me to encourage you to just keep an open mind when we move through this process, to have compassion for ourselves, but to be open to, I guess, like an outside narrator, yeah, or an outside view or opinion, or another person's side of the story. Sometimes it can be like quite nuanced in how it comes through, because sometimes it's so we can know more about the other person's side, and sometimes it's really so that we can get a good view of like ourselves or this person through another lens as well. So that's just something for consideration. But of course, take what resonates, only do what you want to do. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you all in another reading. Bye.